Well folks, it looks like the plot is beginning to thicken. Yes, this episode is filled to the brim with plot points that will affect the overall story that it kind of makes up for the past few episodes being sort of filler. And correct me if I'm wrong, but is this the first episode in the series to focus entirely on the villains? Yes, I know, the main 6 from season 8 was mainly focused on Chrysalis, but she shared screen time with the rest of the main 6, so it's not entirely a villain episode. Frenemies, on the other hand, revolves entirely around the League of Super Evil. Speaking of which, I was kinda torn when I first watched this episode. The trio of terror got a lot of development in this episode, and watching them be fleshed out had me in two frames of mind. On one hand, I thought having the villains trying to work together and being petty about it was really charming and really funny. It's not often that we see villains like these act like children. Seeing them fight a literal child over who's in charge is so ridiculous, especially when you realize these guys are two of the strongest villains the show has ever had. And that's where I fell into another state of mind. These are some of the most powerful villains the show has ever had, and they're acting like stubborn, petty children? But the more I thought about it, the more brilliant this narrative decision became. The villain's behavior reflects the nature of evil. Stick with me here. Evil as a narrative construct sort of works the way it's presented here. Characters that are meant to be evil are bound to act like petty children in the face of adversity. They're petty, they're manipulative, they do anything in order to get what they want. They're stubborn, and they don't work well with others. Everything that these three characters exemplify in this episode. Evil as a concept is at its core ridiculous. No one or nothing is inherently evil. In that way, this episode sort of serves as a deconstruction of the evil character archetype. At the start, these characters act accordingly. They're evil, but as the story progresses, as one might expect, they change. By the end, they learn to put away their differences and work together. At first, after they all fail, or in T-Rex's case, completely avoid scaling the mountain, they're forced to combine their strength and knowledge out of necessity. They reluctantly work together, but through a shared hatred of the main 6, they actually end up liking each other. By the end, they become like the very people they are trying to destroy. And through this newfound camaraderie, they realize that Grogar is not only a threat to the ponies, but a threat to they themselves. Grogar is too powerful, so they devise a plan to usurp him, to get rid of the true evil. And this little turn of events got me thinking of future episodes. Will this terrible triad end up working with the main 6 in order to overthrow Grogar? Kind of like the frenemy of my enemy type of thing, like the episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Or will Grogar suspect something's up? He does, after all, have his magical Palantir. He probably already saw their betrayal. Just some thoughts, I don't know. I'd love to hear some of your theories down below. The story's getting juicy, and there's so many directions the show could go. Speaking of which, the subtle character work in this episode was really well done. It's nice to see more sides of these characters than was previously presented. Seeing each of their methods for achieving their task really showed us what kind of characters these villains really are. It really gives these characters more depth and dimension. T-Rex is shown to be a lot smarter than is let on. He always thinks ahead. He knows scaling the mountain is treacherous, so instead of wasting his time doing that, he lets the others do it, so when they inevitably fail, he can learn from their mistakes and use it to his advantage. And Cozy Glow just keeps amazing me by how great of a character she is. I think she just works so much better this season than in season 8. Really good stuff. But Chrysalis is probably the most interesting of the three. She seems to be the most emotionally tortured. She keeps to herself and doesn't trust anyone. When the idea of T-Rex temporarily absorbing her magic was presented, she immediately thought that they were trying to betray her. And even when she learned the true motive of the idea, she was still hesitant and didn't have faith that her magic would be restored. It seems that her defeat at the end of season 6 really affected her, not only in terms of her sovereignty, but emotionally as well. She is broken because who she assumed were her loyal subjects turned against her. It's really evident that while she didn't regard anyone in her hive a friend, nor was she even a good leader to them in the first place, she valued their loyalty and their following and maybe even their company, and all that meant a lot to her. And when all that was taken away from her, she spiraled into the person she is in this episode. But regardless how mentally unstable she's become, she hasn't completely lost it. She's broken enough to not trust anyone, which makes her wary, in turn causing her to scheme. She's the one that brought up the fact that Grogar was too powerful, and she's the one that put the plan to overthrow Grogar into motion. She's still smart and ahead of the curve, and I think it's thanks to her previous failures that she's become this way. And on a completely unrelated note, Chrysalis's log that she talks to in this episode reminds me of the obelisk or diviner from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Lots of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. vibes in this episode. But I think I've rambled on for far too long now, so before I go, I just want to touch on the song really quick. It was great. Quite great. I never thought we'd ever hear T-Rex sing, but it was glorious. But before I get carried away and start filleting this song without adding anything substantial, I want to say that this song reminds me of the Backyardigans. Yep, the Backyardigans. The episode Secret Mission, to be exact. The song was a tango, just like the songs from that episode of the Backyardigans. I rewatched Secret Mission because of this, and I can't recommend it enough. I love the Backyardigans.
Right through here.
Wait! Don't turn that knob. You might set off an alarm or a booby trap. Dun dun dun.
It's okay. There's no alarm.
How do you know?
I already turned the knob. Come on.
I know you may be saying,
John, isn't the Backyardigans for babies?
and my answer to that, my friend, is that the Backyardigans is for everyone. I still watch some of the episodes to this day, and I listen to the songs on a regular basis, because, my god, the Backyardigans has some of the best songs and music of any show that I've ever watched in my entire life. In conclusion, the Backyardigans is probably the best cartoon ever made, and I say this in complete earnest. Anywho, this is a pony video, not a Backyardigans video. Back to ponies. I'm still amazed at how many good episodes there have been in this season. Like, seriously, I didn't think I would ever be into the show again after season 8, but here we are. All in all, this was quite a darn good episode. I loved the character work, and the thickening plot has me looking attentively forward to future episodes. I'm curious to hear your opinions and theories down below, especially on the Backyardigans. Anyway, it's time to wrap this thing up. I've been rambling on for far too long. Thanks for watching and have a great day.